I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there. But there needs to be conversations and then in order for reconciliation, and part of that has to be accountability.
The world awoke to frightening headlines from California. Prince Harry, once the bold, rebellious face of a contemporary monarchy, was rushed to the hospital after being discovered unconscious at his Montecito residence. What seemed to be a medical emergency is swiftly escalating into a much darker, more terrifying story. One that might reveal years of palace-managed quiet, controlled narratives, and behind-the-scenes damage management. According to many insider sources, this was not a trivial health worry. Harry's condition was critical enough to warrant an emergency reaction and rapid hospitalization. The whispers linking it all to substance abuse have sent shockwaves through the royal family and the general population. What makes this situation even more disturbing is not just what happened, but who was not present. While Prince Harry was being stabilized in a hospital bed, his wife, Meghan Markle, was allegedly observed at a secret members-only club, mingling and smiling as if nothing had occurred. That fact, which has since been corroborated by many sources, paints a worrisome image of a royal marriage on the verge of a split reality. For the time being, the British royal family has declined to comment. But within the royal gates, phones are ringing, damage control is in full gear, and attention is focused not just on Harry's illness, but also on the network of individuals that surrounds him. This is no longer the narrative of a tormented prince. It's about a guy who may be stuck in a hazardous downward spiral with only a few trusted individuals on his side and a swelling wave of anxiety from a world that once revered him. What truly transpired in Montecito that night might rock the royal institution to its core. It started with an uncomfortable quiet. Hours passed inside Prince Harry's Montecito mansion with no indication of movement, no phone calls, no lights turned on. The uncanny silence prompted David Langdown, Harry's longtime bodyguard and former Scotland Yard officer, to intervene. When he entered the room, what he discovered was terrifying. Harry is utterly unresponsive, pale, still, and alone. Langdown did not hesitate. A distinguished guardian who has been by Harry's side for over 2 decades, he has witnessed the prince's highs and lows, but never like this. He quickly requested medical aid, and within minutes, emergency personnel were racing through the gates. It was not a panic attack or exhaustion. This was serious. According to sources, Harry's vital signs were erratic, and his status was uncertain at times. While Harry was being transported to a California hospital in a medical emergency, the focus moved to someone who should have been there, his wife, Meghan Markle. Instead, she was spotted at an exclusive, members-only club in Los Angeles, laughing with pals and seemingly unconcerned. That one image, captured by a bystander and circulated in insider circles, sparked questions that no official statement could explain. Why wasn't she present? Did she understand what had happened? Or worse, did she already know, but decided to go anyway? Insiders claim it wasn't just a bad night or a misunderstanding. Meghan's absence seemed intentional. Some speculate that she was establishing an alibi, being seen in public to escape suspicion or responsibility. And while Harry lay in a hospital bed, attempting to stabilize, she was already being linked to the approaching storm. The night altered everything, not only for Harry's health, but for how the public perceives those around him, and what they may have permitted to happen behind palace-proofed walls. To comprehend the gravity of what occurred in Montecito, you must go back years ago. Prince Harry's difficulties did not begin in California. They began long ago, slowly disintegrating beneath the surface of royal existence. In the early 2000s, murmurs started to spread. At first, it appeared to be a harmless rebellion, adolescent Harry dabbling with marijuana and drinking on country estates. But those close to the palace knew better. What they saw was a young guy dealing with pain, loss, and loneliness, using narcotics to dull what tradition did not allow him to say. When things got out of hand, did the palace step in with meaningful support? Not exactly. Instead, Prince Charles reportedly had a nightclub erected within Highgrove. Yes, a real nightclub. The plan was to confine the pandemonium and keep Harry's habits behind gated gates. However, nothing was stopped. If anything, it made the spiral more personal and lethal. According to a 2007 story that has long been buried in newspapers, Harry once snorted vodka while out partying. Not drunk, but snorted. Medical practitioners have described it as a near-instant route to alcohol poisoning or brain injuries. However, the media scarcely covered the story. What's the reason? The outlet that was researching it, News of the World, was shut down due to an unrelated controversy. The rest of the press became quiet. Other stories simmered inside the walls of royal palaces and military stations. There were tales of evading drug tests, abrupt relocations from bases, and handlers rushing to keep Harry off the front pages. Each event created the same picture: a guy in misery, masked behind charm and headlines, sliding through the crevices of a system built to preserve images rather than individuals. And now, years later, the fissures are no longer evident. The night he was found unconscious was not a unique incident. It was the latest episode in a long, downhill decline that the palace refused to confront, and the public is only now starting to understand clearly. As Prince Harry battles his problems, the spotlight is now focused on the person closest to him, his wife, Meghan Markle. Her absence on the night Harry was brought to the hospital was not only noticeable but also unsettling. Meghan wasn't only unreachable, according to various insiders. She was also visible elsewhere. She was seen at an elite members-only club in Los Angeles, smiling and joking with her tight group. This was not an example of ignorance. According to sources, Meghan was aware that Harry's condition was serious. Instead of sticking by his side, she made sure to be photographed in public. Why? Insiders say the explanation is simple: alibi. Her presence was not unplanned. It was strategic. Even more alarming are claims that Meghan has not only endured, but even supported Harry's addictions. According to other stories, she utilized his need to keep him emotionally isolated and vulnerable to manipulation. While nothing has been proven, murmurs are becoming more common among royal circles and the press. And this is not Meghan's first encounter with such conjecture. Stories from her previous marriage in Jamaica detailed a raucous wedding reception at which guests were supposedly given rolled joints in gift bags created by Meghan herself. Some visitors had no idea what they were carrying until they arrived back in the United States, posing major legal dangers. Then there's Meghan's mother, Doria. Despite her low public image, many sources allege Doria still has links to shady groups in California. Allegations abound that both ladies have long known where to find what they need and how to keep others silent. If even a small portion of this is accurate, Meghan's place in Harry's life is more than simply confusing. It's possibly risky. Whether she's an enabler, an escape artist, or something even more cunning, her choice to walk away the night Harry almost died has caused the Globe to take a closer look at the narrative behind the Sussex fairy tale. Behind the golden gates and scripted grins, the royal family has always functioned under one unspoken rule: preserve the crown at all costs. For years, this meant shielding Prince Harry from himself. Every time Harry stumbled, the palace devised a strategy: a late-night scandal, distract with a charitable appearance, a distressing photograph, release fresh family pictures. When his conduct swung into a dangerous area, the remedy was not treatment, but optics. The royal publicity machine deflected attention away from real-world issues. The purpose was never to heal, it was damage control. Even Harry's military service, which was originally regarded as his salvation, is now viewed in a different light. Insiders believe that during his stay on base, drug tests were either ignored or outright fabricated. One former royal staffer told how, just as a surprise test was announced, Harry was immediately airlifted out of the building. Coincidence? Or a perfectly planned escape? It did not end there. Reports appeared of Harry reportedly ingesting an entire canister of hospital-grade laughing gas, which should only be handled by qualified doctors. Somehow, he gained access. No one asked any questions. The story disappeared before it made news. The cover-ups were not isolated. They created a pattern. Every time Harry's behavior crossed a boundary, royal officials and media friends stepped in to clean it up. What could have been a watershed moment turned out to be another incident that was ignored. Over time, a very unhappy young guy evolved into a product of the system designed to protect him, but only on the surface. Now, with Harry's latest hospitalization and rising concerns about his health, those years of silence are coming to an end. The public no longer buys sophisticated public relations pronouncements. For the first time, the system that permitted this slide to go unchecked is being evaluated, rather than just Harry. The monarchy may have taken the limelight off Harry's suffering, but now the shadows are striking back. In the midst of Prince Harry's illness, the attention has swung suddenly and unforgivingly onto Meghan Markle. For years, detractors were labeled as conspirators or angry. However, even top royal insiders are quietly confirming what many have long suspected. Meghan's influence may extend far beyond fashion choices and charity talks. Conversations behind the royal walls are becoming increasingly urgent. Officials are allegedly re-examining Meghan's role in Harry's life following their wedding. The emphasis is not simply on their public exits or media interviews, but on trends. Is Meghan purposefully isolating Harry from his family? Has she contributed to an atmosphere that has exacerbated rather than alleviated his dependence? According to insiders, Meghan's presence at critical moments in Harry's deterioration is no longer coincidental. Her numerous absences amid crisis, her well-timed public appearances, and her silence on Harry's troubles are all being seen as strategic moves. Doria, Meghan's typically low-profile mother, is also getting notice. According to some accounts, she has a greater involvement behind the scenes than previously thought. With murmurs of links to California's shady circles, people closest to the crown are quietly investigating Doria's participation in Meghan and Harry's personal life. What is happening today isn't simply a controversy, it's a real reckoning. The palace is not ready for rumors, it's bracing for the aftermath. Lawyers are allegedly on standby. Questions are being asked. And if Meghan is revealed to have had even a little role in Harry's breakdown, whether by enabling, ignoring, or manipulating, the royal family may not shield her this time. Because in the court of public opinion, and potentially even the court of law, quiet and strategy may no longer suffice. Everyone involved will eventually face the truth, no matter how difficult it is. Prince Harry's hospitalization was more than just a personal problem. It was the tipping point for a royal drama that had been silently unraveling for years. What transpired beyond those Montecito walls has stripped away the final layer of the Sussex image, revealing a much more terrible truth. This isn't a couple redefining royalty. It's a man in crisis and a society on the point of collapse. For far too long, Harry's downward slide was ignored as adolescent defiance or exaggerated media coverage. However, with insiders speaking out and silence no longer protecting the truth, it is evident that this is a habit of neglect, addiction, and manipulation that no palace statement can correct. Meghan's absence during Harry's worst hour, along with growing concerns about her influence, has completely altered the narrative. She is no longer merely an outsider. In many royal circles, she is now seen as an enabler, or worse. And as the world watches, the monarchy is forced to deal with the fallout from decades of quiet and an image-first policy. Because this time, it is not about media attention or public opinion. It's about a prince's life, and if the royal family will eventually choose healing over concealing.